Hello, welcome back. So today we're just gonna be having a fun chat, speculating over the next two five-star batches, batch 19 and 20, and then also we're gonna be looping in who the next five-star combiners could be. Just emphasis on this is just speculation, no facts. Anything I say, there's no proof supporting it. I'm literally just having a fun chat. I like speculating over the next five-star batch. I think it's fun. I know some people agree. Um, so yeah. So earlier today I dropped a video where I went over the five-star batch. So just to recap, this is batch 18. So obviously these bots are off the table for batch 19 and beyond. Um, so if you look at who has a five-star version that still needs to come into a batch, so Wings Reaver's off the table, Vector's off the table, Orion Pax is off the table, Rekar. So I think the options are Powerglide, Trailbreaker, Overload, and I don't see them here, but the other ones are. Oh, I have Gears, and then Armada Stars, Armada Scavenger. Sorry. All right, so Gears, he's not in a batch yet, and then I don't have Armada Star Saber. I'm not sure where he is. But anyways, yeah, those are the last. But yeah, those are the three endurance bots you don't have a batch yet. So Gears, Armada Scavenger, and Overload. So I think those will be the next three endurance bots for batch 19. So again, so batch 18 isn't even out yet. They'll probably come in within the next month or so, I'd say. You know, probably 2 to 4 weeks ish. Actually, they haven't even announced it in the probably three to four ish. Um, so I'll just say 1 month. So then, at earliest, batch 19 would be in 4 months after that. So in 5 months, maybe six, maybe seven, around there. So between 5 and 7 months is what we're looking at. So that gives that much time to build up new endurance bots for after. So batch 20. So the only thing is we don't know when they're coming. We don't know how often they'll be coming, but primes are coming. That's a fact. But we just don't know when. So it's possible that maybe when primes come, that slows down the amount of new bots we get. So maybe they could switch to like 2 endurance bots in a batch instead of 3. Um, I think that would impact batch 20 and later though, unless they really start rolling out primes. I could see them getting to a schedule where it's like every 3 months we get a prime, a bot, and a combat. Whenever we start getting primes, I have no idea when. Um, so that can make some sense. So then the other two options are brand new. Powerglide doesn't have a batch yet. Trailbreaker doesn't have a batch yet. Trax doesn't have a batch yet. And then, so now we're going to loop in combiners. So you can pause and read if you'd like. Basically, if we look at this middle paragraph here, basically Dale is saying Skyrain will not be the next five-star combiner, even though we're getting Trailbreaker this weekend. So technically, if you're going in order of release, he should be next. But he's saying that he definitely won't be. I'll talk about Raiden in a second. But for now, we're just gonna ignore him because he kind of throw the wrench in things. um, so I think the next five-star combiner will be Defensor. The options are either him or Defensor, and we haven't had a single five-star Raiden part yet. and I'd have a hard time seeing them get all 6 in. It also depends on how they release them though, because so I guess we can just talk about Raiden now. So Raiden, for the 4-star parts, he took 3 events. We got 2 parts each. If we look at normal endurance events, a 4-star is like 37.5k, and then a 5-star I think is about 87.5k. So that's over double. They roughly value 5 stars at over double a 4-star. So if they wanted to do 3 events where they release 2 5-star parts at a time, they'd be 100k events. I do not think that would be received well at all. I don't think the community wants that. I'm hoping they'd realize that. So I think either A, they release him in one event, and it's like it's weird because Titans are at the 125k mark. There's no way you can say that Raiden's more. But then if a second 5-star part is at 50k in the 4-star events, then really this if they want to release 2 at a time, that would be 100k ish for the second part. I don't think that much makes much sense either. And then again, I don't think they're going to release all 6 parts in under 125k. So I think they're going to do one at a time. That's my long way of saying that. I think they're going to do one at a time. It's going to be more reasonably priced. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all around the 70k mark, like we're having this weekend with Trailbreaker. Because if we do in the 4-star events, the first part was at 25k. So if we follow that, and it's a little over double, you get up to like 60 to 70k for a 5-star part. That's in line. So 70k is what this weekend will be. That's about in line of a little over double of what the 4-star. So I think that can make sense. So if I'm right in that, again, there's no there's no facts to back this up. It's just speculation. But if I am right in about that, and they're going to release one part at a time, then I don't think they get out all 6 parts before um batch 19 is coming around. Because like even if they did one Raiden event per month, that would be a lot. And then also that would take 6 months, right? So back to batch 19. So I think the endurance bots. I don't think it's really a hot take. Um, I think it's going to be Gears, Armada Scavenger, and Overload. And then for the 2 other bots, I think if the options are Defensor or Raiden, and I don't think Raiden will come out that fast, so I think it's going to be Defensor. They've kind of loosely talked about him. In the last live stream that Dale and Callum did, Dale was like kind of giving ideas for what he had about 5-star Defensor. So that tells me that they're already thinking about him. So I don't think it's that far of a stretch. He's definitely one of the next 2. I think he's going to be the next. So if he is, the cons, they need Cutthroat, which they already have in the web store. However, they're not going to release Defensor / Abominus, which is the con version of Defensor. They're not going to release him as a 5-star until Trax comes in a batch. So we know Trax isn't coming in this batch. So I think it makes sense for Trax to come in batch 19. That gives Trax about 5 to 7 months to be a web store exclusive, and then it can come to a batch. Because otherwise, if you wait still batch 20, that would be like 9 to 10, maybe like almost a year. Not quite a year, but almost a little under a year. Like that's a little bit long. So I think it would make sense for him to come in batch 19, and then For the bots to complete Defensor, we just need Streetwise. So I think that makes sense because there's 3 endurance bots, and then each side Autobots and Decepticons get 1 combiner piece. I think that's a pretty good batch. I don't think Streetwise really needs a legacy rework, so I don't think we need to wait for that or anything. He's not the best bot, but I don't think he's like that bad. I don't think he's like so bad that he needs a rework. Um, and then break. See, that's what I think batch 19 will be. It'll be Gears, Armada Stars Scavenger, Overload, Tracks, and Streetwise. And then if we look at who I mentioned earlier, that still leaves Powerglide and Trailbreaker to come in a batch. So then, if Skyrain isn't next, then I think Defensor will be next. So then, after Defensor, it will either be um, Raiden or Skyrain. So Paraglide came into the game. Actually, no, they said he's gonna get a legacy rework, or not a rework. He already got the rework. He's gonna get a legacy event. I'd expect that in the next saga at some point. Um, I would guess in the first month, not the second, but you never know. So if Paraglide's in the next saga, then within the next saga, that will have Paraglide and Trailbreaker both in the game, and they'll need a batch. So I think if they both come in batch 20, that would also complete Skyrim for us and Galvatron for the cons, because the cons need Cyclonus, which is Paraglide's counterpart, to complete them. So that's why it makes sense it makes sense, I think, for Paraglide slash Cyclonus to complete their Galvatron, and then he'll be stapled to Trailbreaker, who is who we need to complete Skyrim. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then whatever the next 3 endurance spots are, I think they'll be in batch 20 as well. So obviously we don't know who they are. And I mentioned primes, so if they do slow it down, I think there'd be at least 2 still in this batch, and then they'd pick one more 4-star bot who doesn't have a 5-star. Um, break. So hypothetically, if batch 20 is Powerglide and Trailbreaker, that's a combiner part. And then let's say there's only 2 endurance bots, not 3. Um, if you look at the 4-star bots who need a 5-star, I think Jumpstream is an option. However, she is also a combiner part, so that might outrule her. Because they have put 2 combiner parts in one batch before, but not very often. Um, I think, where is he? Bulkhead can make sense. He's one of those bots. He doesn't need a rework or anything. He just needs a 5-star version. Um, and he's not a combiner part, so that can make some sense. Um, and then honestly, there aren't a ton of other options. Sideswipe doesn't have a 5-star, and he's not a combiner piece. I'm actually not sure. I don't know the con side. I don't know exactly who. I know Galvatronus and Abominus. I know those are one apart or one away from a 5-star combiner, just like we are for Defensor and Skyrim. Um, so for at least for the bots, I think the options of 4 stars need a 5-star, but they're not a combiner piece. So that would be Sideswipe, SG Goldbug, Bulkhead, Broadside, Punch, Cliff Jumper. I think he's gonna get a legacy rework though, so I don't think he's just gonna come in a batch. Double Dealer, Cybertron Jetfire, Mirage, just a Cliff Jumper. He's a combiner part, but then also I think he's gonna get a legacy rework, not just come in a batch. Cup, I'm pretty. Maybe a con can correct me, but I'm fairly certain the Decepticon version of him is a combiner part. Um, so he'll come as a 5-star eventually, but I don't think it would be batch 20. Hound Vamp. I think yeah, everyone else is either has a 5-star or is a combiner piece. So off the top of my head, at least for bots, 4 stars who don't have a 5-star and they're not a combiner piece. Hound Vamp, Cup, Mirage, Double Dealer, Cliff Jumper, Cybertron Jetfire, Broadside, and Bulkhead, and Sideswipe. So those are the options if there's only 2 endurance bots in the next batch. If I had to pick one, I would hope Bulkhead. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of Rushing Warriors. He doesn't need work. He just needs give him a 5-star version and an ability 11, and then he's good to go. See, if I have to pick one, I'll say the next 2 endurance spots would be fun and say only 2 instead of 3, and then Power Glide, Trailbreaker, and I'll say Bulkhead. That's my prediction for batch 20. And then so I could see Raiden either being the second or third next 5-star combiner. I really don't think he's going to be next. They'd have to release him very fast. Um, and I think they already have a bit of a backlog of events they want to get through. Um, I know 5-star Arc will be soon-ish. We just had the Fort Max event. I think he was 2 months after Metroplex. So if it's 2 months after, that would be next Saga again for 4-star Arc. We know primes are coming. I'm pretty sure there's a mystery event that was meant to be this weekend. I'm pretty sure that's a prime. It says new content. Some people are saying, oh, it's just new content. Like it could just be a bot. It could be a combined. Like it could be anything. I don't think that makes sense. If it was a bot, I think they'd just say new bot. Um, Because Trailbreaker is a new content. We already have him. If that was the plan, I think they pivoted to him because he's easy. So I really think a Prime was planned for this weekend, and if it was pushed further back, I think that means they're close. I think next Saga is a lock, pretty much for Prime. So that means next Saga at already they want to get through 5-star Powerglide Legacy event, 5-star Arc, 5-star Prime. We don't know who. There's probably at least either a new bot or a new combat. Not sure which one. So that's 4 mayhem events, big mayhem events right there. So like maybe get one Raiden event in there. If it's a big one, I don't know, because we just had 3 big solo mayhem events. I don't think they want to keep doing that. um, so at most, I think we get one Raiden event in the next saga. Anyways, the point is, I don't see him being released so fast that he beats Defensor as a 5-star. I think it would make sense for him to beat Skyrain as a 5-star. So then I think the next 5-star combiner would be Defensor, Raiden, Skyrain. I kind of wish Skyrain was next. I know Trailbreaker came quick because he's super easy to make as a 5-star. He's really solid as a 4-star, so they just need to give him a 5-star version, give him a G1, call it a day. I think Skyrain follows the same logic. I think he just needs. He's probably the only 4-star combiner who doesn't need a rework. Just give him a decent 5-star ability, just like Trailbreaker, and then just call it a day. Defensor will need a rework. Um, I guess Computron didn't get much of a rework, so I guess they're due for one if they're alternating. Because Volcanicus got a bit of a rework, and then Computron didn't, so then if they alternate to Defensor who does, that would kind of make sense. I'm not sure. I know on PT we don't playtest. We don't have him yet. I know he's been developed. I don't think he's even close to final yet. I remember Waza showed him in some videos quite a while back, and in the first video he was very underwhelming. He was garbage, and then the second one he was so overpowered is ridiculous. So I don't think they're done with him yet. If you want to get a quick peek at what he might look like, I'd just search 5-star Raiden Waza. Those videos should come up. Um, yeah. So just to recap everything I've said. So batch 20, I think it will be Gears, Armada Scavenger, Overload, Tracks, and Streetwise. And then that would complete Defensor, so that brings 5-star Defensor. Not at the same time. We know like batch 17 came out almost 4 months ago, like 3.5 months ago. And that gave us 5-star Lightspeed to complete Computron, and then we just got Computron like 2 weeks ago. So let's say we get the parts for Defensor in 5 to 7 months. That means Defensor in about 8 to 9 months ish, I guess. And then that gives so much time to get those rated events in, which I think would make sense. And then while we're getting rated events, I think we'll get batch 20, and that will be the next 2 endurance bots who aren't in the game yet, obviously. And then Trailbreaker, Powerglide, and I'll pick Bulkhead. That's my prediction for batch 20. And then for, I think, 5-star Raiden will come out around batch 20, probably a few months after. And then in about a year or so, between in the next 12 to 18 months, I'd say, I think we can expect 5-star Skyrain. And then we can get into, I don't know, I think Optimus Maximus is one. So when we get to the point where 4-star combiners who need a rework, I think he'll be first. So yeah, screw it. I think the next 5-star combiners will be Defensor, Raiden, Skyrain, and then Optimus Maximus. I won't go beyond then, because then we're talking like 2 years in the future, which I that's a little far. We do know a new combiner is coming. We know literally nothing besides Dale mentioned it on was a stream 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe three. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, I think. We know a 5-star Titan, not a 5-star, a new Titan is coming. We don't know when. I think in one of the developers' last streams, they said he's going to come after 5-star Arc. So at least wait for then. I think Arc will come in about 2 months, just like for Max after Metroplex. So at the earliest, I'd say new Titan in about 6-ish months, maybe more, maybe less. That can kind of make sense. Um, yeah. So yeah, I have fun with these. I think it's fun to look at the future. It'll be fun to look back at this video when that stuff comes out, see how right or wrong I was. For batch 18, this was a curveball. I got the 3 endurance bots right, which isn't really a hot take, and then I got the 2 other ones wrong. They weren't even on my radar. So, yeah. So if you're still here, thanks for watching. If you had fun, please leave a like. If we keep coming back, I still would be appreciated. And I'll see you next time.